And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, once again. Welcome to WWJD World Wrestling, James Donnelly. I'm your host, James Donnelly. So, we're going to cover, so it's what, the 21st, sorry. We're going to cover Raw from tonight, November 21st, 2016. All in all, not bad. A little, angering in parts. A little, cringeworthy. But I mean, it's Raw, so what do you expect? It's always gonna get weird. And sometimes weird things work, and sometimes they don't. So let's kind of kick off where the show kicked off, which was with, of course, since we had to hear about it like 50 times during the course of the show, is that Goldberg came out to the ring, and of course the rumors started flying even before taping today, so it wasn't that big of a shock that we were going to get Goldberg was putting his name in as the first name for the Royal Rumble. Now, my first question would be, why exactly? Because, okay, I get the idea of him having a title run, but he's not a spring chicken anymore. So while, I mean, I know that it's at the Royal Rumble, it's at like a 60,000 seat arena, so they gotta get asses in seats. And having Goldberg in the Rumble might help with that, and I'm sure that he'll get a lot of eliminations, but he's not going to end up the winner. Again, it's probably good marketing, but I don't think it means anything in the long term. So I don't put a whole lot of stuff. I mean, it's very energizing to see a 49-year-old say that they want to get another title run, and it's fun to see him with his kid and with his wife. I mean, it's kind of a heartwarming thing, which is not bad. But I just don't think that 49-year-old, not even can't even call him a part timer. He's pretty much, he's going to be pretty much like a 2-off now, because Survivor Series and then Royal Rumble will be pretty much the end. He might come out on Raw the next day or whatever, and it'll be like, yeah, it's time to give it a rest because I'm not going. But who knows? I mean, they've done weird things in the past as far as the Royal Rumble is concerned, so we'll just have to see how this works out. And there's of course some talk today about how the fact that the match was so short because Goldberg kind of tweaked something during when he was throwing around all the security from last week's Raw. So Goldberg obviously is the big story right now because of his takedown of Lesnar. So they got to capitalize on that and move forward. So it's like I said, from a marketing point of view, it's not that bad of an idea. I just don't think it's going to come to much. So, just the way it goes, I think. So then we had our tag team title match, which, again, was one of those things where it's like, here's the numbers game is going to work in favor of New Day again, but they're still, they're still face, so it can't be blatant cheating. I'm wondering if by once they've surpassed Demolition as the longest reigning tag team title holders of all time, if they're gonna maybe turn heel again so they can get a little bit more mileage out of the tag by deliberate by really blatantly cheating. Because this is this kind of numbers game thing against Cesaro and Sheamus, because that was I didn't really think that Cesaro and Sheamus were going to win, or as Big E called it tonight, Cesaro, which I think is actually kind of a fun name. Um, but anyway, so I mean, it was a match with zero stakes that had, of course, the good false finish, with Xavier running interference, and then of course I'm so sick of and I know this is a long time trope, but I'm sick of here's the false finish followed by the quick roll up, and then it's done. So again, no stakes. It didn't really make a difference. It was a good match though. I mean, I always like when Cesaro gets a good showcase. The whole naked Enzo thing, I mean, I was kind of hoping that was. I mean, it was funny for a bit, but Vince has the mentality of like a 10-year-old, so he always thinks that dong jokes are going to be funny, so why not? So yeah, and the whole, yeah, I hate the whole getting Lana involved in anything, because that is Rusev's real life wife, and she shouldn't just be a prop. But that's just how it's going to be because Vince. There's just some notes I was kind of taking as the night went on. Corey he's got some awesome zingers every once in a while. I'm so glad that JBL, I only have to hear him on SmackDown, and it's hard to tune him out because he's so fucking loud. But Corey's such a better heel announcer than JBL or King ever were. I mean, I don't know about ever, but I mean, since I've been watching, I've been enjoying Corey Graves so much more. He did one great line about Enzo. It's like if he pandered any harder to this Canadian crowd, he'd come out covered in maple syrup and listening to Nickelback. That's Corey is, sometimes of course the heel announcers can get really annoying, but more often than not Corey's a master, and because he throws out lines like that. I'm a little surprised that Cedric turned up tonight, because Cedric, he's involved. He's involved in NXT. He's doing stuff there. I know he's part of the cruiserweight division, and that gives him the right to pretty much go where they go. But technically, it's like, let's give the man something. Let's keep him one place or keep him in another place. Don't split his time too much, because then it just gets confusing. And Cedric doesn't really have a story anyway, so except for as far as in Raw, he has a story going on in NXT, but not in Raw. So, and I'm so sick of I gotta rile up the get the anti American or anti-Canadian, in this case, sentiment going out with Navari. It's just he's it's so tired. And I talked about this last night in Survivor Series, but anyway, that was a good match, because any time that I get to watch Cedric do that spring hand kick that he does, where he bounces off the ropes, does the flip, and then comes around with with that full roundhouse kick. It's a thing of beauty. It really is. I love seeing it. So anytime he gets to do that is fine with me. And then I get to see him do it is even better. So that's just one of my favorite moves in all of wrestling right now. the highlight reel, good fake out. It was, again, Jericho, he's the gift that keeps on giving, and Owens was fucking on tonight. He was great on the mic, and the thing that he had to say about Roman Reigns and the conditioner pouring out of his hair. I mean, oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love it when he's on because he's, I think, hasn't done really good mic work lately, but tonight he was just en fuego. So, and Jericho, of course, was awesome throughout. I mean, the list kind of honestly is one of those things that just kind of keeps me coming back. It's like I just want to see, and I saw tonight that there's a shirt about the list in WWE shop, and I went up to my wife and I'm like, please get this for me. It's not probably, this is something that's going to go away relatively soon, within a couple of months. It'll be just another gimmick, but for right now, it'd be like the Sheamus 3-6, the whole Sheamus thing, the time that it took for him to beat Roman Reigns, that whole bullshit. It's like that obviously is going nowhere. So maybe once that goes on like clearance, I might get it, but right now, it's still a cool shirt though. The whole Lana, and now America, and she's doing it in other countries. So it's like, okay, it's either she's doing it on purpose, and it's a fun heel thing to do, or she's just so stuck on that line. So I honestly don't know which. I don't know which is more plausible. If Lana is really, she doesn't care where she goes. She just says, and now America. But just good stuff. The Enzo Rusev match was kind of a squash anyway. And then we move on to why are they having Golden Truth fight Gallows and Anderson? What sense does that make? I mean, come on. I mean, Golden Truth is a goof-off team anyway. I mean, it's not like they're serious contenders. I mean, Shining Stars looked pretty good last night. So, I mean, it's like, why couldn't they have fought Gallows and Anderson? I thought they were going to get a pretty good push out of that. But honestly, right now, I can't even remember if they're on SmackDown or if they're on Raw. So, whatever. But yeah, that was that was a stupid match, and I hated the fact that they created it and that it was, who's going to be the next contender for next week, for their next title defense, because I'm sure they're going to have title defenses like every week now until they break the record. And then we get to the Sammy versus Braun match, which made no fucking sense at all. I mean, come on, really? What the fuck is the point of that? I mean, so yeah, your punishment is you gotta face Braun Strowman. I mean, first of all, it's, Sammy's kind of been the one who was calling him out, and now it seems like Sammy's like, he's upset that he's gotta fight him. It's one of these things that makes no sense. And the match, I mean, it wasn't even really a match. It was more of a squash. It was just like, I know, I mean, Braun definitely seems like Vince's kind of wrestler, so whatever. And then, so the women's division, of course, got their moment in the sun tonight, because they can only really, on Raw, they can really only do one women's match per 3-hour episode. Or they can do two, unless one of them is a tag team match, because obviously once they've done a tag team match, they've exhausted all of their the entirety of their roster. So much for that. And of course, this was a tag match, because once Nia came out, I mean, the whole thing about Nia Jax coming out and going after Sasha doesn't really make sense without calling out Charlotte as well, because Nia Jax is not Dana Brooke. I mean, Dana Brooke, first of all, she sucks. She's a terrible wrestler. She's terrible on the mic. She's terrible. I mean, she's bad in ring. She's bad on the mic. She's just a horrible personality, and I don't ever want to see her again. But she's obviously going to be hanging around a lot until there's the inevitable fallout between her and Charlotte. Whatever. Because you would think, okay, well, Nia is clearly extremely dominant, so why wouldn't she be wanting the women's championship? It doesn't make any sense. It's again another case of bad storytelling within the women's division. Surprise. But I mean, if of all the things that I did enjoy about that match tonight was the double team suplex that Bayley and Sasha got on Nia, so that was kind of cool. And I always love the bank statement, but I like the backstabber transition into the bank statement. That's a much more effective finisher. But of course, then the excuse is, well, she wasn't really ready for a match tonight, which is why she tapped out so fast and all that kind of shit. Whatever. And again, that I just found myself writing again because we were like 10 minutes into the third hour of the show, and they had to do the recap again of what happened at the beginning of the show. So it was like, oh my god. And then we had the triple threat for who was going to be the number one contender for the Cruiserweight Championship with. That's going to be on 205 Live, so they can promote that a little bit. So we got 2 cruiserweight matches, but only 1 women's match. So figure that out. But this one actually told a story as opposed to the Cedric and Navari one. This one was just, it was T.J. Perkins, Rich Swann, Noam Dar, all trying to see who's going to take on the Brian Kendrick on the first episode of 205 Live. So, and of course, I like Kendrick. I like Kendrick a lot on the mic. He's a fun personality. Always commenting about his experience and his intelligence. That's why he's the winner. It has really, he's not really saying, well, I'm the most talented. No, I'm just the smartest and the most experienced. But it was a good showcase for these 3 guys, except Noam Dar. Noam Dar didn't really have a lot of getting over, but Rich Swann is, I like T.J. Perkins a lot. He does some really cool shit, but Rich Swann, love him. He and Cedric Alexander are arguably my 2 favorite cruiserweights, or the 2 active cruiserweights in this current division. Now, whether we're going to see Grama Talik or Kota Ibushi on 205 Live, I haven't really looked it up, so I don't know, but hopefully. So that I liked Rich winning because I feel like Rich he's a good contender, but I think Kendrick's going to retain so that TJ will eventually get his shot back. But I mean, part of it is that there are a lot of face cruiserweights, so it'll be it kind of has to be like the mutual respect thing has to be going on in order for them to get the to have a good match, because face versus face just isn't that fun. Heel versus heel is great, and face versus heel, of course, is ideal. So do what you got to do and make this happen. So we get the promo with or the pre-match interview with Charlie doing KO, and of course he calls her Renee. And at the beginning, I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. I love when they do that, when somebody is replaced, or it's a new person that's doing the interviewing, and they call them the wrong name. It's like Tom Phillips always gets called Tim or whatever. And when he called Charlie Renee, it's just, oh, that's so great. But then at the end of it, he caught himself doing it. I'm like, well, that kind of takes the fun out of it, because I like the idea of KO being so self-centered that he doesn't even bother to recognize that this isn't Renee Young. But whatever. Then we had our main event, which was Seth and KO for in the no disqualification Universal title match, and Roman and Jericho are banned from ringside. So of course, first of all, commercial breaks. They've got to stop doing 2 commercial breaks during the fucking main event, because first of all, it takes you right out of all the momentum, and then when they come back and you see you've missed some actually cool shit, like like Seth getting put through the table, or something to that effect. I mean, these are important moments, and they should be on TV. But whatever, I don't know if that's ever gonna go away. The big matches will always have more than one commercial break, so whatever. It just takes me right out. But that was a bell to bell. That was a great match, though. I have to really commend them on putting on a really good match. Seth and KO worked really, really well together, going into the crowd and everything like that. Once they put each other through tables, and Seth going off of the getting up into the crowd and going off the balcony and everything. All that was good shit. I mean, hitting it with the garbage and everything, it was just good. It was good stuff. And then now when the luchador, the Sin Cara masked man, started beating the hell out of Seth, at first I was really hoping it was Triple H. But I'm like, no, he wouldn't wear a mask. It's got to be Y2J, and of course it was. And then of course he comes out onto ringside, which should have been kind of an immediate disqualification, or but that's gonna play out in the the next couple weeks. Is that Seth, that Jericho did actually come on to ringside, which he was forbidden to do, so that's going to give Seth his rematch again. So this thankfully wasn't just a wheel spinning night. Usually nights after first Raw and after a big pay-per-view is usually pretty good. So this was a good one. Obviously there were problems because it's Raw. But all in all, pretty good episode. I'd say it's about a B. I'd give it about a B. So right now I'm still just kind of hoping. Guys, stop it. Sorry, my cats are fighting. So I'm still, if you'll forgive the pun, holding my breath, not catching my breath, but holding my breath for Finn to come back, because, which I still predict is going to be at Royal Rumble. I still think that he's going to be the winner. He's going to come in like number 29 or number 30. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. Especially if Goldberg is still there by the time that he comes in. Of course, I'm not wildly speculating, but he is due back around that time. So that's pretty much it, as far as examining tonight's Raw is concerned. So any questions, comments, complaints, criticisms? If this is your first time here, welcome. Since I'm just starting to do this, and please feel free to subscribe and comment below. And Hope you enjoyed it. Catch my much longer thing about NXT TakeOver Toronto and Survivor Series from last night. You'll be able to see on this channel as well. So, without further ado, I bid you adieu. Thanks again for watching. And you guys just keep on asking yourself, WWJD. Well, don't ask yourself, just refer to, that's bad catchphrase. I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. Until next time.